Ford 9600, 1972 to 1977. On scorching summer days in the fields, where every inch of land required absolute durability and reliability, the Ford 9600's name was a promise: strong, straightforward, no frills. Manufactured from 1972 to 1977, the Ford 9600 was one of Ford's most powerful tractors of the 1970s, aimed at medium to large farms. Assembled in Highland Park, Michigan, the machine quickly made a name for itself, especially in the Midwest and the North, where farming conditions were harsh and tractors were required to be durable. When it was first released, the 9600 cost between $13,000 and $15,000, depending on configuration. During its 5-year production run, tens of thousands were sold. Today, a well-maintained Ford 9600 can sell for $12,000 to $20,000, especially if it has an enclosed cab with original fans and glass. The Ford 9600 uses a 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine, displacing 401 cubic inches (6.6 L), producing about 135 horsepower. With the turbocharger, the machine maintains a strong and stable pulling force, even when working continuously for many hours in the hot summer sun. I still remember very clearly the steady roar of the engine in the middle of the day, not urgent, not tiring, just a quiet affirmation. A friend of mine in North Dakota once said, "This Ford is like a tank. When it's in gear, it goes all the way." The 9600's transmission has 16 forward gears and 4 reverse gears, combined with a dual-range transmission, helping the driver choose the appropriate speed range, from heavy towing, deep plowing to long-distance running. The 1000 RPM PTO system is ideal for large equipment such as harvesters, feed mills, balers, etc. The machine's unladen weight is approximately 12,125 pounds, 5.5 tons. The common rear tire size is April 18, 38, providing excellent traction. The large frame, high ground clearance, and wide visibility make the 9600 effective on both soft and rocky ground. Ford 9600 parts are still quite popular among the vintage tractor enthusiast community and through aftermarket suppliers in the US. Maintenance is not too complicated, because the machine is mainly mechanical, with few electronic systems. For a farm of about 50 acres, the Ford 9600 is not only powerful, but also has more than enough power to handle the toughest jobs, plowing deep, pulling large trailers, or operating power-hungry equipment. Despite being a powerful machine, the controls are quite intuitive. Older people can operate it comfortably in just a few hours, because the gears, brakes, and PTO are all located in the right places and are easy to use. If you are thinking of buying it secondhand, check the following parts carefully: turbocharger, hydraulic system, transmission/auxiliary transmission. These are the points that are prone to wear and leaking if the machine is not well cared for. I once saw a man in Kansas who still had his father's Ford 9600. He said, "This machine does more than pull dirt, it pulls my father's memories through every plow." The machines may be old, but the memories remain. And sometimes, just listening to the steady roar of the engine at the end of the field, we feel like we are 18 again, with dreams, sweat, and an unwavering faith in the power of labor. Have you ever driven a Ford 9600? What was your first favorite tractor? Tell me. Allis-Chalmers 190 XT, 1964 to 1971. In the late 1960s, when America was still peaceful amidst vast fields, the deep engine sound of the Allis-Chalmers 190 XT sounded like a work song, solid, steady, and full of hope. Manufactured from 1964 to 1971 in West Allis, Wisconsin, the 190 XT was one of the most successful tractors Allis-Chalmers ever made. With a starting price of only $8,000 to $9,000, much lower than many competitors with similar power, it became a popular choice for average farms in the Midwest and Southeast. In less than a decade, more than 20,000 190 XTs were sold. Today, a well-maintained 190 XT can be purchased for around $5,000 to $12,000, depending on its originality and condition. The 190XT was not chosen because it was the most powerful, it was affordable, easy to maintain, easy to drive, and reliable. Families in Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky still use it as a workhorse throughout the growing season. I still remember my grandfather's words. That orange Allis-Chalmers worked hard with me every season, never once gave up halfway. The Allis-Chalmers 190XT was equipped with a 426 cubic inch 7.0L inline-six diesel engine, with about 93 horsepower at the PTO shaft, enough power to plow deep, pull heavy trailers, or operate support equipment on a 50-acre farm. The starting system is very stable, even on cold winter mornings. The transmission has 8 forward and 2 reverse gears, with the option of Power Director, a semi-automatic type that allows the driver to change gears without using the clutch, very convenient for long work or frequent speed changes. The PTO has 2 speeds, 540 and 1000 RPM, helping the 190XT operate equipment such as balers, lawn mowers, feed mixers, etc. well. The machine weighs about 8,900 pounds, 4,000 kilograms, with April 18, 34 rear wheels, providing good traction and firm grip even on wet ground. The overall length is about 13.3 feet, compact enough to maneuver in small spaces, but still powerful enough for heavy work. Maintenance of the 190XT is quite simple. Although not as common as John Deere, parts are still easy to find through vintage Allis groups, aftermarket shops, or farm machinery shows. If you are farming on a 50-acre farm, the 190XT is a powerful, durable, and easy-to-operate option. There are no fancy electronics, just pure, real tractor mechanics. Even older people can operate it easily. The clear gears, mechanical brakes, PTO lever, all are within easy reach and easy to understand. When buying a used one, check the following: clutch, PTO shaft, Power Director. These are the heavy-duty parts that wear out after decades of use. I once met a mechanic in Iowa who kept his 190XT for over 40 years. Despite the high bid, he shook his head. It's not just a machine, it's my youth. Indeed, machines like the Allis-Chalmers 190XT do more than plow the land, they capture memories, the spirit of hard work and a piece of American farming history. Have you ever driven an Allis-Chalmers 190XT? What was your first favorite tractor? Tell me. Massey Ferguson 1135, 1973 to 1978. On chilly mornings in the Midwest, before the sun rises, the Massey Ferguson 1135 hums, as steady as a farmer's heartbeat as he begins his day. Launched from 1973 to 1978, the Massey Ferguson 1135 was one of the company's most successful tractors of the 1970s. Assembled in Detroit, Michigan, it quickly found its way onto thousands of farms from Illinois to Oklahoma. When it first left the factory, the price of an 1135 ranged from $14,000 to $16,000, not cheap, but a nearly tireless machine. Today, if kept in good condition, it can resell for $10,000 to $20,000, especially if it has the original cabin, original glass, and intact paint. The Massey Ferguson 1135 is equipped with a 6-cylinder Perkins diesel engine, 354 cubic inches, 5.8L, producing about 135 horsepower at the PTO shaft, enough to pull large equipment such as 5-bottom plows, large balers, feed grinders. An uncle in Nebraska once said, "This Massey doesn't talk much, it just knows how to work. Once it starts, it goes all day without stopping." The gearbox has 12 forward gears and 4 reverse gears, divided into 3 speed ranges, slow, medium, fast, thanks to the multi-power system, helping to change ranges without stopping the machine, extremely convenient when farming or moving between fields. The PTO speed is 1000 RPM, suitable for modern equipment at that time. The machine weighs around 12,300 pounds, 5,600 kilograms, with large rear tires, usually April 18, 38, which grip the ground well even on soft ground. Enclosed cabin with ventilation and heating, a rarity for machines of the era, making the driver more comfortable on cold winter or hot summer days. Pure mechanical system, few electronics, easy to repair, popular spare parts, especially among the vintage Massey enthusiast community in the US and Canada. On a 50-acre farm, the Massey Ferguson 1135 is not only sufficient, it also saves time and effort thanks to its strong pulling power and good moving speed. For older people, if they are familiar with the multi-power system, controlling the machine is not too difficult. When buying a used machine, you need to carefully check transmission, PTO shaft, hydraulic system, because these are the parts that bear the most stress over time. I once met an old man in Missouri who kept his Massey 1135 from the time he got married until he retired from farming. He said, "It's like an old friend, no need to say much, just there when I need it." The 1135 is not everyone's first machine, but for many, it is their last, from their youth until retirement. Have you ever driven a Massey Ferguson 1135? What about you? What was your first favorite tractor? Tell me. John Deere 4020, 1963 to 1972. On golden autumn afternoons, the sound of tractors echoing from the end of the fields is like the heartbeat of a time not long ago. Among those sounds, I still clearly remember the deep, warm roar of the John Deere 4020, produced from 1963 to 1972. Back then, rural America did not have many modern machines. But when the 4020 appeared, it almost completely changed life on the farm. Manufactured at the Waterloo, Iowa plant, this model quickly became a symbol of durability, reliability, and ease of operation. The original price of a 4020 at the time of its introduction was about $10,000, and more than 184,000 were sold, a huge number at the time. Today, good working ones still fetch between $10,000 and $20,000, depending on condition. Why is the 4020 so popular? First of all, the inline 6-cylinder diesel engine produces about 95 horsepower, enough power for most jobs on a 50-acre farm. It starts easily, even on cold winter mornings. The standard transmission has 8 forward and 2 reverse gears, shifting smoothly. Some versions also have an optional power shift transmission, making it easier to drive when working with heavy loads. The dual PTO system of 540 and 1000 RPM allows for connection of a variety of equipment such as balers, mowers, and crushers. The vehicle weighs about 7,300 pounds, about 3,700 kilograms. The large rear wheels have excellent traction, helping to move steadily on soft or wet ground. Overall length is about 152 inches, 12.6 feet, compact enough to maneuver well around small lots, yet large enough to tow medium-duty equipment. The John Deere 4020 is not only popular throughout the Midwest, but also in states like Nebraska, Illinois, and Kansas, where the John Deere brand is deeply rooted in the lives of farmers. Spare parts are still easy to find, and repairs are quite simple because the machine does not have many electronic components. For the elderly or the previous generation, the 4020 is still the top choice because of its stability, low failure rate, and easy maintenance. I once met an old man in Kansas who still uses a 4020 to pull hay for his cows. When asked, he smiled and said, "He and I are both old, so we understand each other's every sound." If you are taking care of a 50-acre farm, the 4020 is definitely a tractor you can rely on for a lifetime. However, if you are planning to buy it again, do not forget to carefully check the parts such as hydraulics, transmission, and PTO, because those are the parts that wear out the most after many years of use. Nearly 60 years later, the John Deere 4020 is still seen in many fields, a living symbol of a golden age in American agricultural history. Have you ever driven a John Deere 4020? Tell us about the first tractor you owned and the one you were most attached to in your life. International Harvester 1066, 1971 to 1976. On early spring mornings, when the dew still lingers on the grass, I remember the sturdy crimson silhouette of the IH-1066 quietly turning through the fields. With its warm brown earth and the scent of the planting season, it stands out as a living symbol of the American countryside. Manufactured from 1971 to 1976 in Rock Island, Illinois, the International Harvester 1066 quickly became one of the most powerful and popular tractors of the 1970s. When it was introduced, it cost about $12,000, and within 5 years, more than 50,000 had been sold, a very impressive number for a tractor with over 100 horsepower. Today, a well-maintained 1066 can still fetch between $15,000 and $25,000, depending on condition, accessories, and hours. It was once the king in many places like Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, where the land was big, the work was heavy, and a machine was needed that could work all day without complaint. I remember one Missouri farmer saying, "It pulled my swamp for 10 years and never complained." Technically, the IH-1066 was equipped with a DT414 diesel engine, 6 cylinders in line, producing about 125 horsepower, extremely powerful compared to the average tractor at that time. Thanks to the high compression ratio, the engine started well even at low temperatures. The machine used a 16-speed forward and 8-speed reverse transmission, integrated with the torque amplifier system, allowing the driver to change gears even when carrying a heavy load, very ideal for deep plowing or pulling heavy equipment. The 2-speed PTO system, 540/1000 RPM, helped the 1066 operate effectively a variety of equipment such as rice harvester, baler, bran mixer or crusher. The machine weight was about 10,300 pounds, about 5 tons, large wheels with April 18, 38 rear tires, excellent grip on wet fields or steep terrain. Overall length is nearly 14 feet, compact enough to maneuver well but still has a strong, solid build. Parts for the 1066 are still common in the US, especially at used IH machine shops or independent farm machinery dealers. The International Harvester 1066 is more than just a tractor, it is a symbol of power, reliability, and a lifetime commitment. For those who have been farming for a long time, the feeling of climbing into the driver's seat, starting the engine and hearing that deep growl, it is a part of the memory. With a farm of about 50 acres, the 1066 is more than capable of plowing, pulling trailers, or operating high-power equipment throughout the season. However, if you are planning to buy it back, you should carefully check the following parts: clutch, PTO shaft, torque amplifier, because these are the parts that wear out over time. If properly maintained, this machine can work stably for another 20 to 30 years, without needing a major overhaul. I once met an old man in Ohio who still uses his 1066 to pull a log truck in the winter. He said, "As you get older, you need things that don't change. And this one, it's the same as it was in 1973. It's not just a vehicle, it's a companion through the seasons, through life." Have you ever driven an International Harvester 1066? What was your first favorite tractor? Tell me.